Marco Rubio claiming he will go on to win the nomination, congratulating Donald Trump, saying he'll call him in a bit, and paying his respect to his one-time mentor and fierce competitor in this contest, Governor Jeb Bush. Going on to say that we are the children of the Reagan Revolution, and we are ready to assume the mantle of leadership, as you can see there with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina and Trey Gowdy with Governor Nikki Haley in the back.
Getting a lot of support, obviously, in South Carolina from those key politicians you see on screen. Governor Haley, Congressman Gowdy, Senator Scott, and that did help tonight. Judging by the exit polls, Governor Haley's endorsement after that debate did move the needle for late deciders. I do want to add this. So far, $262 million has been spent on ads. Jeb Bush, with his team, super PACs, and the campaign, spent $80.9 million. Donald Trump, $8.5 million. Marco Rubio has spent $50 million just on ads. You can see the disparity here. Cruz at 16.
What's remarkable about those numbers is a lot of the Jeb Bush money was spent going after Marco Rubio, which was one of the complaints against his team, saying, why are you targeting him? Why wouldn't you target Trump? Why wouldn't you target Hillary Clinton? Why are you going after him? Clearly, he perceived him accurately, as it turns out, as his main threat for that so-called establishment lane. Let's get more now from our Fox News digital politics editor, Chris Stirewalt, and our Fox News media analyst, Howard Kurtz. Good to see you both. Stirewalt, your reaction to tonight. What's the headline for you?
Well, headline, obviously, Trumpeth, and will continue to. His numbers, yes, he was off the beam a little bit from the original expectations, but he did everything he needed to, and will continue. There's no reason to think he won't continue to do so. So that's story A. Story B, you just heard. Marco Rubio had a great night. Not only did he run well, better here than expected, but also Jeb Bush did something that I think was very hard for him, but probably will earn him a lot of respect from his fellow Republicans by packing it in and clearing the way for Rubio to start to consolidate that support you're talking about and make this a game going into the 1st of March.
Howie, your thoughts?
Well, it's a bounce back for Marco Rubio. The press, I think, went too far in burying him after that robotic debate and then the 5th place flop in New Hampshire. But let's look at what Trump just accomplished. 7 nights ago, just about this time, he was trashing George W. Bush over Iraq and 9/11 in a Republican debate, later backed off a bit. Then he threatened to sue Ted Cruz. Then he got into a war of words with the Pope over immigration. He later softened that as well. Everybody was saying this time he's crossed the line, he's gone too far, he's blowing his lead. What people forget is that when Donald Trump controls the media narrative, even if a lot of that media attention is negative, that helps him because he runs against the press as much as any other institution. That's part of why he was able to win in South Carolina.
Not only that,
today.
he came out and said he supported the Obamacare mandate on that CNN town hall. The Obamacare mandate, which is, you know, that makes the hair stand up on the back of a lot of Republican voters' necks. And yet, let me ask you, Stirewalt, you know, perhaps people don't really believe he means that. You know, I don't know what they conclude from that. But the Trump support is as sound as ever. And now what we're hearing is there's going to be a rush to consolidate behind Marco Rubio because those establishment folks, they're scared.
I don't know who thought that Donald Trump talking about pig blood-soaked bullets for Muslim assassination squads or mocking the president over the Justice Scalia's funeral not being in a mosque and all of that. I don't think anybody I know thought that would hurt Trump with his core supporters. If anything, it helped with the core supporters who love it, who love the smack talk, who love the smackdown. And that's the message for the Republican Party. Donald Trump is not going anywhere, and they have to be aware of this. The idea that somehow it wasn't true, it wasn't real, that these voters wouldn't show up. Now, it gets harder for him when you get to close primaries, and Democrats can't come over and vote, but his coalition will march for him. And now the pressure on John Kasich is going to get big. The pressure on Ben Carson is going to be enormous. I mean, really enormous. How
does that manifest itself? Because we've already heard from those two that they're staying in. And you see Ben Carson, it doesn't seem like he has an expensive campaign apparatus. He goes from state to state, and people love him, and he goes on TV. How difficult is it for him to stay in?
You want to talk about burn enough money to burn a wet elephant. Ben Carson's campaign has shoveled through more cash than the guys burning coal on the Titanic. Holy crocono. He raises a ton of money. I mean, he raises all this money, but boy, does he spend it. And that's going to grind to a halt. That's going to stop. The engines will seize up on that. Kasich's in a different situation. He's got Ohio waiting for him out there. Question for him is, how concerned is he about a Donald Trump nomination for his party? And by the way, what that would do to Rob Portman, his fellow Ohioan in the Senate, and the Republican chances to hold on there.
Howie, your thoughts on whether Trump spins this into, this is it, because he says and others believe this is it. He runs the table.
I don't think he has to. I think the press, in part, will do it for him. Yes, there are some pundits. You saw Trump mention that in his victory speech. He was watching a couple of liberals on an unnamed network whose initials are MS saying, well, if this happens and this happens, he might not get the nomination. But I do think this is the moment when the establishment, both political and media, are coming out of denial, see the fact that Trump is now certainly the leading candidate for the Republican nomination. And as you say, Megyn, the fact that he can come out for the Obamacare mandate and is still standing shows that he is not bound by the normal rules of a Republican primary where you're not supposed to say such things. He's coming up with his own, what he calls common sense conservatism, and it doesn't seem like his fierce supporters, they give him a lot of leeway. They are not necessarily voting as you would expect. And by the way, Ted Cruz in South Carolina, this should have been a really good state for him, and yet Trump somehow cut into his lead again, as he did in New Hampshire among evangelical voters.
He won conservatives, notwithstanding that mandate thing and Ted Cruz's presence in the race. Guys, great to see you both.
You bet.
Same here, Megyn.